Hello everybody, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to replace a power steering pump, and I'll demonstrate this on my 2008 Acura MDX. So one reason that these pumps might need to be replaced is due to a fluid leak. Don't confuse a fluid leak from the power steering with this high pressure power steering line, because right at this joint here, these are notorious for leaking too. But the seals on the pump itself can also go bad, and that can be a reason to need to replace the pump itself. Another reason these pumps need to be replaced, and probably the most common reason, is difficulty turning the steering wheel. This is the powerhouse right here that makes it easy to turn your car, and when this pump and the internal components go bad, the steering becomes difficult. And these two things can be avoided by replacing your power steering fluid once every 3 years. Unfortunately, the manufacturer doesn't have a service interval for power steering fluid, so it often goes unnoticed by a lot of people, and the fluid can get dirty and the components can wear out, and that's not good. Furthermore, when these internal components go bad, another indicator that it needs to be replaced is a noisy power steering pump. It can sound like it's rattling and making these weird ticking noises. I'm going to give you a little video clip of that right now. You can hear on my power steering pump, it's also a little rattling. Let's take a listen. Almost sounds like someone's taking a little metal hammer and clanking it. That's another sign that the power steering pump could be going bad. And now we're going to purchase some parts. And to start, we're going to need to remove that power steering belt so we can remove the power steering pump. And to do that, we need a Serpentine belt removal tool. If you go to your local AutoZone, you can actually rent one for free. Otherwise, if you want to purchase one, this one actually won the competition on Project Farm's YouTube channel, and unsurprisingly, it is sold out at the moment, but I'm sure it'll be back in stock sooner than later. These usually sell for about $35 to $45, so keep an eye on that, as it's a highly rated tool. Next, we're going to need a power steering pump. And you could either buy a brand new one if you really love your car and are willing to spend the money. They're about $600 for a new one, or about $428 for a Honda remanufactured one. Otherwise, I would recommend getting a junkyard power steering pump, because these are normally very reliable and can last hundreds of thousands of miles if you keep up on your fluid maintenance. And so what you can do is you can copy and paste your power steering pump part number over to eBay. And usually these junkyard parts sell for about $50. And so here on eBay, here's one for $50 and here's another for $60. Easy peasy. Otherwise, you can go to your local junkyard and try and find one. And here's a pretty cool website. This is basically a huge database of all junkyards that sell their parts online, combined into one place. And you can find your vehicle, 2008 MDX, find your part, power steering pump, enter your zip code, search. And again, if you scroll down a little bit, odds are you're going to find a bunch of power steering pumps. Here's a bunch for $45. Here's some more for $60. Here's some more for $50. This is a very popular car. Lots of power steering pumps are available. Otherwise, what you could do is go to a pull your own part type of junkyard, and you can get it even cheaper for about $30. And to ensure you're getting one from the correct vehicle, what you can do is come to the Acura website again, click on your part number, come down to vehicle fitment, and you can find your power steering pump on any of these vehicles. Sometimes they're even found on some Honda vehicles, and to check for that, you can just come to a Honda website and again, copy and paste your part number over here. And unfortunately, my power steering pump isn't on any Hondas, but it's worth checking anyways. Next, what we're going to do is replace a couple parts as preventative maintenance, since we're going to be taking everything apart anyways. And so here we have the power steering pump inlet, and right here is an O-ring. We're going to be replacing this O-ring, since over time these can get hard and they can no longer produce a seal, and are the #1 cause of noisy power steering pumps and air getting in the system. And when that happens, that can potentially cause your power steering pump to wear faster. You do not want air in the system. So we're going to be replacing this as preventative maintenance. Just be careful, because some Acura websites sell them in quantities of 10. So just shop around, such as on this Acura Parts for Less website, you can get them individually for about 90 cents. Now you don't have to replace this next part, but if you want to ensure that no air is going to be getting in your system, you can replace this little inlet tube. It goes from the reservoir directly to the power steering pump. It costs about 16 bucks. We're going to be removing this anyways, so while you're at it, you may as well replace this tube with a new one. Again, up to you. And we're also going to be removing this top part of the high pressure power steering line here. It's held in by 2 bolts. And again, while we're removing that, you may as well replace this O-ring as well. One of these costs about 2 bucks. The last thing we're going to need is some Honda power steering fluid. And if you're just really unlucky and you've been taking care of your fluid and your pump just so happened to fail and you just need to fill your system back up with a little bit more fluid, you're only going to need about 2 bottles. Otherwise, I'd be willing to bet that most people replacing their pumps are doing so because their fluid is really dirty and really dark and hasn't been changed in a very long time. In which case, I would recommend getting 3, maybe even 4 bottles for that matter, so you can really get that fluid in your system nice and clean. It's a really easy process. Basically, you'll just drain the reservoir, then you'll fill it back up to the max fill line, and take your car for a drive. And then you'll come back and repeat the process. Drain, fill, drive. Drain, fill, drive. These go for about $7.50 on Amazon. You might be able to get them even cheaper at your Honda dealership for that matter too. So that's all the parts we're going to need. Why don't we get started? So first we just have to remove this giant engine cover, and we'll take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to turn these 2 little screws counterclockwise, one there and one right here. There we go. And then we're going to just kind of pop it off. And the whole cover should lift up and out. We also have to remove one more piece of trim here. It's this long piece of plastic that goes across the radiator. And it's just held in by a bunch of clips. You just pop them up and you can remove the entire trim. Now we just need to drain the power steering fluid reservoir. And what you can do is take a syringe like this, and you can attach a piece of 1/4 inch inner diameter vinyl tubing to the end. And we're just gonna suck out all that old fluid. You can see it's pretty dark. And again, that goes to show that not a lot of people change their power steering fluid. I just got this car a couple months ago. And we're just gonna put it in an empty container. Now we're gonna remove the serpentine belt, and to do that, we're gonna get down in here and we're gonna attach a 14mm socket and ratchet on there, and we're gonna push it forward towards the back of the engine. That'll loosen the belt and we'll remove the belt. If you take off your little ground cable bracket right there, that'll give you enough clearance to get your ratchet and socket in there. Also, to give us just a little bit more working room, we're gonna remove this power steering inlet hose. It's gonna come off anyways, so we're gonna get some paper towels and we'll remove this little clamp right here, and we'll just kind of pry it off. Get ready, because there is power steering fluid still in this hose, as well as the very, very bottom of that reservoir. So it's going to leak a little bit. That's okay. Nice and easy. There, it's coming a little bit. Let's try and soak up as much of it as you can. So there was a little bit more fluid in that tube than I thought there was going to be. Probably soaked up about 5 to 10 paper towels, but just be careful to not make a mess. And eventually, once this is out of the way, we can now take off the belt. And we're going to take a 14mm socket, put it on our serpentine belt removal tool. Let's push this forward and remove the belt. There we go. Now we can release the tension off the tool. Now we're just going to remove this high pressure power steering line, and it's simply held on by 2 10mm bolts. And because we already removed this tube and drained a bunch of fluid, there really shouldn't be much in here when we lift it off. But just in case, I got my paper towel handy, and I'm going to try and reduce any potential messes. Wants to leak a little bit, so I'm going to get it in there. There we go. Okay, you can see it didn't leak as much that time, so perfect. Now we'll just remove two 12mm bolts, one right there, and one kind of hidden down in there. And then we can remove the power steering pump. After those bolts have been removed, we'll kind of bring it towards the front, rotate the pump itself, and maneuver it on up and out. And we've just removed our pump. So here I've got my replacement power steering pump, and we're just going to remove this bolt off of the inlet. Remove the inlet. There we go. And we need to get that O-ring out, and we're going to replace it with a brand new one. There we go. And we're going to coat that new O-ring with just a light dab of silicone. There we go. Pop it back on. And then we can put our bolt back in. And then we can torque that bolt down to 8 foot-pounds. Then we can reinstall that power steering pump the same way that we took it out and torque those 2 bolts down to 16 foot-pounds. Now we can take a dab of silicone paste and lubricate that O-ring. We can put it back in the power steering pump. Put our bolts in. Then we can torque these 2 bolts to 8 foot-pounds. Time to put that drive belt back on. So just look at your diagram, kind of line it up, and wrap it around all the pulleys, and then we're going to put it on the power steering pump last. So we'll finally take our tensioner tool here, push it all the way forward, and let's try and wrap this bad boy around. There we go. It looks good. Let's release that tension. All right, we got it. Now we can put our new pipe on. And don't forget to reinstall that little ground cable on your engine mount bracket down there. Now it's time to fill the system back up with power steering fluid. And we're gonna fill the reservoir up to the max fill line. And because there's probably some air in the system, since we removed some lines, as well as we got a new power steering pump in there, there's gonna be some air in the system. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the car for 5 seconds, turn it off, and we're gonna come back. And you'll probably notice that that fluid level has gone down. So one more time, what we'll do is we'll fill it up to the max fill level, and then start the car for 5 seconds and turn it off again. After starting the car for a second time, if you notice the fluid level has gone down, again, just fill it back up to the max fill line. If you notice that your power steering pump is making a whiny noise, which is usually due to air being in the system, what you can simply do is put some cardboard under your tires, and then you can start the car, hold the RPMs at 2,000, and turn the steering wheel lock to lock, each way 5 times. And what that will do is power bleed the air out of the system into the reservoir, and that noise should go away. And again, just don't forget to keep an eye on that reservoir fluid level. And let's take a listen to the new power steering pump. Nothing. Can't hear anything anymore. No more metal clinking, and the power steering itself is a lot stronger. Before at a standstill, I would need 2 hands to turn the steering wheel, and now I can do it single-handedly, so there's definitely improvement there as well. So yeah, we fixed the problem. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. And if you did, why don't you go ahead and click that like button. It certainly helps me out a lot. And consider subscribing to the channel, where you're going to find a bunch of other videos just like this one showing you how to fix your car. Also check out the description. I'm going to be posting more information down there, links to parts, timestamps, etc. And feel free to leave a comment, as I'm pretty good at getting back to people. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great day and take care.